Alright, hey guys, Scott Patton here. We're sitting down here at Blue Water at the RV park on Chickamauga, and I've been doing some guiding this past week. I'm catching some fish. Haven't caught no giants yet, but they're coming. But I want to give you my top picks down here for fishing on Chickamauga, and actually fishing in probably within a 150-mile radius of this given area. It's early April, and in April you get all kinds of weather. You know, we're sitting out here right now, it's 50 degrees and winds blowing 15, 20 mile an hour. Just a couple of days ago, it was in the 70s. So a lot is going to change, and a lot of things happen with the fish during that period. But they are during this time of year, the number one thing is they're going to be leading to spawning areas, okay? So that's what you got to think about. These fish are going to be wanting to focus on moving to spawn, the water's warming, the bait's moving in, and they're getting their bellies full. And what baits are going to work the best, okay? This is a more of a universal thing for this time of year. Of course, there's going to be other baits that can work, but these are ones that I would want to have for sure during this time, during April, because of the different weather we're going to have through April, because it's going to change a lot. You know, it could be 80-some degrees come the end of the month, and we're going to have fish spawning, and the water's going to be in the 60s and stuff like that. So probably my two main ones for the early April is going to, of course, be a jackhammer. This is one I like down here on Chickamauga. You know, we go from a red, from fishing in March, to more of a shad pattern in April and through April and even through the rest of the summer, okay? This is a clear water shad pattern. I've got a gold blade on it, and I got a zoom fluke trailer on that bait right there, okay? That's a real good color down here on Chickamauga. We got a lot cleaner water down here. Now, if the water was stained up after some rain, stuff like that, I would go more of a solid white or a white and chartreuse, okay? And you're gonna fish this up on the flats, on some of those shallower bluff walls and stuff like that, going into the creeks and stuff. All right, so that's one bait I wouldn't want to be without. And probably my second pick is, and again, this is for early April, okay? Probably the first 2 weeks where these baits are really going to work best, okay? And we caught fish on this bait just the other day. The shad started coming in, like I said, a couple of days ago when the sun was out. Shad were moving up onto the flats and stuff like that. But it's just a shad pattern, Lucky Craft. Is the Kelly J's what it is, and they're actually just coming back out with this bait. You know, I know you can get it on Tackle Warehouse and probably Bass Pro Shops, and also you can check your local tackle stores, guys. But this is a real good bait. It's a flat-sided crankbait, as you can see right here. And one thing I do, like I said, with a lot of my crankbaits, especially these smaller crankbaits, is I got the suspend dots on this. You know, if I have to use a little bit of super glue to keep them on there, I'm going to do that, okay? Because what happens, I'll just get a bucket of water and I'll put enough suspend dots on these baits to make them suspend when I stop cranking them, because I'll be cranking these around stumps, you know, shallow stumps back in flats, along the edges of creek channels, and even down along lay downs and stuff like that. So when you're cranking that bait, when you stop it, you don't want it to float away from the fish, okay? You want it to be able to, when it stops, if that stump's sitting right there, you want that bait to stay right there. And with this bait being able to suspend, that's going to enable that fish, if he's sluggish, he's cold, like a cold front day like today, and that fish is going to jump out there and eat that, because he's not going to want that bait sitting there with him, next to him that long, okay? So that's one of the big key, especially on these cold front days. I think that this bait will really get you some good bites if you're fishing flooded stumps and stuff like that, is to make sure you weight them somehow to where they're going to suspend, so that way when you stop cranking it, it's going to stay right there by that cover, and he's just not going to be able to resist eating that thing, okay? So again, that's a Lucky Craft Kelly J is what that is, and it's about a 2-inch flat-sided crankbait, all right? So that's my second pick, and again, it's hard to make. You know, there's so many changes in April. It's hard to just pick certain lures, but probably one of the most universal lures is going to be Wacky rigging, okay? And that's Wacky rigging, Cinco's. You know, a lot of different companies make these baits in a lot of colors. Of course, you can never go wrong with green pumpkin. This one here is green pumpkin with a chartreuse tip in on it. And you'll want to use an O-ring tool or O-ring tool, because this will get you more life out of your Cinco's. As you can see, I got a bunch of O-rings on there right there. I'm gonna just roll that O-ring down just like that, okay? Now I'm gonna take that Cinco and I'm gonna stick it in there. Usually I put that O-ring right past that egg sac, on that bait right there, okay, guys? You just roll that off on there just like that. All right, and what that does, you're going to end up putting your hook on behind that, and that's going to help that bait stay on there. You know, you're missing fish and fish swiping at it, stuff like that, so you can get more life out of your bait. But one of the big keys that I always do, and I've done it so much down here on Chickamauga especially, is I'll put a nail weight in this. Now, a lot of guys who use lead weights and stuff like that, but I've learned over the years, and I've caught several fish in an 8 and 9 pound range down here on this lake by doing this. This is simple, a 1-inch finishing nail, okay, a 1 inch. I've used all different size, lengths, and weights, and to figure out which one was the right fall to get more bites. So I'll just take that nail, I'm gonna put it in the head of that Cinco, just like that, guys. So I'm gonna push that on down in there. All right, I'm telling you what, that adds magic to that bait, okay? What it does, that's just enough weight. Sorry guys, it's cold out here. What that does is it adds just enough weight to where I'm twitching that thing, it's gonna flutter, but then it's gonna just fall enough, but it's not enough to make it fall straight down. That's just enough weight with the buoyancy of the plastic, it's gonna make this bait spiral down. So it's going to give it way more lifelike action. If you've ever guided with me down here on this lake, you know that I've caught a lot of fish doing that, and this is the exact setup I use, okay? As far as the hook goes, this is a Gamakatsu hook. It is a B10 stinger hook, size 2. That's about my best all-around hook I like down on myself. It's a good thin water hook, but it's super strong steel, okay? And that makes a big difference, especially if you do hook a 10 pounder down here on this, and you will do that. So a lot of times I'll rig it 2 different ways. I know a lot of guys prefers just one way or the other, but if I'm fishing more open water, which I do a lot of times down here with this, I'll be fishing over vegetation, the hydrilla beds and stuff like that. I like to take and stick that hook this way, if you can see that, where it's going to fall this way. And the reason I do that, because that worm is falling this way, okay? So if that fish eats that, this is more for open water or open cover. You know, we're not around wood or anything like that, but it's over top of hydrilla and stuff like that, where you let it just fall down in the hose. Because when that bait's falling, you got open hook when that fish grabs that bait, and you got a higher percentage of hook up than you do if you got it rigged up the other way. But of course, if you're fishing real thick cover, you're gonna have this bait down around wood and stuff like that. You are better off to take and rig it this way, which I see most guys fishing it. And of course, it's gonna make it more weedless, okay? But one thing I've seen with this setup, and when you do rig it this way, a lot of times when that fish grabs that bait, it seems like sometimes it'll bury that hook back into the plastic, and you'll miss the fish, or it'll jump and throw the hook because you didn't get a good hook set on it, because it's more protected and it's more weedless that way, okay? So if you can get away with it, guys, I really recommend you fishing that Wacky rig just like that, okay? If you can get away with it, if you got an open over top of grass beds or on rock walls and stuff like that, because you're gonna get a higher percentage hookup with that thing, especially if you get an 8-9 pounder on there. You're gonna wish you had a good hook in it, okay? So that's the way I'll rig up my Wacky rigs here, especially on Chickamauga. And as far as outfit goes, I like a medium heavy rod, 7-foot spinning rod. I'll use 15 to 10 pound test braid Seaguar, and I usually use a 10 to 12 pound test leader on it, because a lot of times you're going to get that big fish, you know, even those 4 or 5 pounders, and it gives me a little bit more strength as far as trying to get those fish out of that cover. And if you do get a giant on in that grass, I'm telling you, just hold him tight, go in after him, and try to get him out that way. I've had guys come down here with on this Wacky rig and stuff like that. You gotta make sure that drag is set just right, you guys. You want it to pull. You don't want it. You want to be able to get a hook in him, but you still want him to be able to pull that drag. And I've had guys come down here. I have my drag set, and you know, they'll catch a 4 pounder. Next thing you know, in a few minutes later, they'll be fighting it with the drag and all, get him out and get him in the boat. But then the next thing I know, they'll tighten up. They'll be hook a fish rather. They'll hook a fish and be fighting it, and the line snaps. I said, man, why? Because I'm thinking, why did it break? I know that drag was set right, and I asked them, I said, did you tighten that drag up? And they would say, yeah. but because they tighten that drag up, there's too much pressure on that line, and a bigger fish in that grass is going to snap that line. So make sure you figure out the right setting on that drag, and it's just enough to pull it, but you know, you just can't have it locked down too much, guys. I'm telling you, you will break off too many fish wacky rigging if you got it locked down too much. Okay, so that is probably the most universal you can use through April, because as a fisher, you know, this wacky rig is more universal because you're going to be able to use it now, and then you'll be able to use it during spawn and post spawn, and you'll catch fish with this bait. Okay, but another bait, and I'll use it 2 different ways in April. I'll use and I got one already rigged up here. Well, I got this rigged up right now, you guys. I got this rigged up on a 3/8 ounce tungsten weight. Okay, I got it pegged, of course. And usually I'll go with 3/8 on 17-pound test line. And what I'll do is I'll cast this up on gravel banks. And I'll throw it on, like my boat may be sitting in 10 foot of water. I'll throw it up on channel banks leading back into the creeks. And also, because sometimes those fish ain't aggressive enough to chase the bait. So I'll throw it up there and I'll work that bait back off that channel bank, and you'll catch a lot of good quality fish by doing that. Okay. Also, if it's a real warm day, I may be fishing that bait in 2 to 4 foot deep on the shallower flats and stuff. But sometimes they're just not aggressive enough to really chase the bait down, especially this lake gets a lot of pressure. The lake you're fishing gets a lot of pressure. You can fish this thing and just crawl along the bottom just like it's a crawfish, and you're going to catch a lot of fish with it. Now, as this water comes up and these fish move into the reeds and the trees and stuff to start spawning, I'll rig this up, same rig, usually a 3/8 ounce of pro tungsten or a 1/2 ounce, and I'll take it on a flipping stick, 25-pound test, or use 25-pound test fluorocarbon, or I'll use braid, and that's when I'm gonna go to flipping this bait, and this will catch a lot of big fish when they are spawning. One of the main things I can tell you when they're spawning is not just to throw it in there, work it out, and go to the next one, because you guys remember these fish are on the bed, you just can't see them. So you're going to pitch that bait in there, let it fall, and sit there and just shake your rod tip. You're not really moving the bait. That's where that 1/2 ounce pro tungsten might be better than a 3/8 ounce, because it's a little bit more weight and it keep you from moving that bait out of that bed, hopefully, that you've pitched in onto him. So you got to be patient, keep that bait in there and just shake it. And, let it set, shake it some more, let it set, and then bring it in and pitch out to the next spot. So you're going to have to fish this bait a little bit slower once these fish move into the cover to spawn, versus when you're just fishing it on the gravel banks, around this time, the first 2 weeks of April. All right, guys, that's my picks for April. It was a hard choice to make. What to tell you to use. There's a lot of other good baits that you can catch fish on, but these are 4 baits that I would not want to be without during April. And good fishing to you. If you're looking for a guide trip, you guys, you can look me up down here on Chickamauga throughout the rest of the year. I've got several days open. Hope that these baits will help you catch some fish. If you guys are looking for a guide trip, you can contact me. I have my website and contact information below. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. I hope this video will help you out. If you like it, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe if you will, so that we can get more information. I'll be getting more information out to you. I appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you on the water.